Stop setting weak goals that keep you poor. See, I've been working with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I would say 99% of them make the same mistake. This video is about how can you turn weak goals into extraordinary ones in order to can start getting levels of success you didn't know were possible. I'm going to start by sharing a real story of one of my clients. See, when we started working together, he's a web designer. He wanted to get to 20K a month. He was already doing about 12K a month on average every single month. It was good money, but he wanted 20K a month because he had run the numbers, and after taxes and stuff, that's exactly what he needed to travel the world and really create a lifestyle brand that could help him really live the life, right? Now, when we started working together, I said, dude, that's typically kind of easy, right? If you really dial in your performance, you learn how to focus, you consistently become more productive, you should double rather quickly. And what happened was that he went from 12K to 30K in about 2 months, right? After we dialed him in and he really learned how to prioritize, execute, say no to distractions, no to procrastination, overwhelm, burnout, he went very quickly to 30K months. And he was elated because it had happened way faster than he thought it was going to happen. He gave himself like 4 months to get to 20K. And turns out that he nearly tripled within a couple of months. So, success story. Everybody's happy. Cool. Now, the problem was that 2 months later, he was at like 17K. And we're having this conversation like, dude, what happened, right? You're able to have a couple of 30K months in a row, but then you have 17K a month again. What happened? What's going on? What did you stop doing the things that work in order for you to get to 30K a month? And it turned out that all the optimizations that we have made to how he thought, how he planned his week, how he structured his workflow, how he consistently show up and got the right things done, all of those things, he stopped doing them. And he stopped doing them because it's a very simple reason that most people never realize, which is that the goal that he had set for himself was too small from the beginning. He thought he wanted to get to 20K a month, but that will not really help him become the kind of person that is able to sustain 20 and 30K a month. And this is a core lesson on performance because the size of the vision, the identity that you see for yourself in the future is the entry point to elite performance. It's literally the defining factor of whether you're going to show up at your best or just do the bare minimum. In fact, if I had to break down what most founders typically do when setting goals, is they go for how can I not lose? How can I just do the things that I know will give me the results I want and nothing else? They will start doing stuff like setting SMART goals, which is, a methodology probably invented by someone who never achieved much in their life, because there's plenty of research that tells us that SMART goals do not work in order to trigger the motivation that is needed to go after the goals we want. So this is average founder thinking. This is what keeps people stuck. If you're playing not to lose, you will never win. So what is the opposite? The opposite is to think in terms of what's possible. What could happen if you commit of being extraordinary? What is the kind of goal that will help you design a new identity and a set of mindset, beliefs, and behaviors that will force you to get to that goal? So back to my client's example. Then we worked together on defining the real vision, because the vision was not 20K a month anymore. We have proven that. The vision had to be so great and so big that will force him naturally to become extraordinary. This is what scientists call having an approach focus. When you're playing not to lose, you have an avoid focus. You try to move away from the pain of failure, which limits your thinking, limits your ability to find solutions, to design great systems, to go after the right goals. You are playing not to lose, which is why you end up losing. But the approach focus, which is what is the thing that really motivates me, that will help me get out of bed with a smile and really put everything that I have on my day to day, is what ends up creating extraordinary performance. So back to my client, we sat together and worked this exercise of creating that vision that will help him really show up at his best every day. And he started telling me that he's a web designer, remember, he wanted to build a venture studio that will work with the best brands. He wanted to build designs and websites and overall kind of digital experiences with the best brands in the world. He's not listing a bunch of them, right? I think he said Mercedes, Red Bull, and a few others, right? That was his dream. That really what the things he wanted to do. He really didn't want to have 20K a month to be comfortable and travel the world. He wanted to be the absolute most elite website venture studio he could create. He wanted to be the number one guy. And as soon as we uncovered this and we were very clear of what that meant, we automatically updated the goal. The goal was not 20K a month anymore. The goal was 10 million a year. Because based on his calculations, this branding venture studio thing, if he's going to be working with this kind of brands, he's going to be making about 10 million a year in top line revenue. And then the path then is, how can we get here as fast as humanly possible? What is the mindset that we need to adopt, the behaviors that we need to do, and the skills that we need to learn in order to get there? And then everything changed because he started realizing that he needed to learn a bunch of things that he never thought he was needed to learn, which is how to hire, how to delegate, how to set strategy, how to sign partnerships. Like, we literally had to work together on designing a bunch of things and learn a bunch of skills that was previously not needed. Because in order to get from 20K, you just need to become more productive and more efficient, which is what we help him. But in order to get to 10 million a year in a reasonable time frame, let's say 5 to 6 years, you need to become a different person. And that different person is based on specific mindset, specific behaviors, and specific skill sets. So if you feel stuck right now, if your revenue is kind of like this, like most people's, ask yourself, do you have a big enough vision, a clear enough goal that pulls you out of bed, that pulls you towards becoming the greatest version of yourself? Do you have a goal that makes you feel extraordinary? If you don't, that is why your performance is not where it should be. Because vision creates performance. Without a vision, there's no performance. Elite athletes become athletes not because they train very hard, but because they're very clear on what winning looks like. They know what an Olympic medal is, and they want that. They want the Olympic medal, and they want to be the best Olympian to ever exist, which has a very clear standard that you need to follow if you want to get to that level. There's no doubt. You have a vision so big that pulls you forward. So what is the vision of your business? This is typically woo-woo for most people, but this really is the key to the performance you see. And that vision is the thing that is going to make everything else easier. Because not only is it going to motivate you, but it's also going to motivate your team. If you don't have a team that is motivated enough right now, that's probably because the vision of your business is not enticing, is not big enough, it's not something they can rally behind. So why would they, right? If you want to get the most out of yourself and the most out of your business, think in terms of how can you create a goal that forces you to become extraordinary, right? So to recap, if you're playing not to lose, you're going to lose because you're going to have an avoid focus, psychological term. You're going to be trying to not waste your time and your efforts. And as soon as you are hit a roadblock or some sort of obstacle, you will eventually end up quitting because you don't have anything that is powerful enough pulling you towards it. If you want to win, if you want to be pulled forward, you need to think in terms of how can I become extraordinary? How can I have an approach focus? How can I have something that lights my heart that really makes me build to the best of my ability? Like, for instance, I can show you what that means in my case, right? Let's talk about, in this case, how I see this and how do I use it? So, for instance, when I first started Selfmastered, which is this business, right? There's zillion coaching businesses out there. I never decided to build a coaching business. That's not something that I'm interested in, because that is not playing to win. What I'm building is a performance institute. What is a performance institute versus the typical coaching business? Well, first of all, we have the best training in the world, because I've spent 7 years building that training. I've hired people from Oxford and Cambridge that have worked with Nobel Prizes in order to get the absolute most elite information and the best frameworks and the best systems for personal performance. So we have a huge training component that most coaching businesses don't have, that are not a random Google Docs and talking head all over them. They're literally the best training on us. And I started with the training, and I built the training over 7 years, because the goal is to create the number one performance institute in the world. Since the vision is so big, it pulls me forward to do things most people wouldn't do, like hiring people from Cambridge and Oxford to actually look at our training. Training is a huge component. We have coaching that I deliver mostly myself. So very small by design. Why? Because I care about the quality of everything that we do, and we are consistently building technology behind every coaching interaction. So coaching business is just a coaching business, which is great, right? But the goal here is to have more, to be more, to create something extraordinary. And it starts with having the right vision. Number one performance institute in the world, because this is what you guys need. Entrepreneurs need this. They don't need more sales and marketing. You need to learn how to perform at your peak every day. But in order to be the number one, we need to do things that other people will not do, which is why we do the things that we do it. So I hope this is useful. I really want you to think about yourself as the Michael Jordan of your industry, of whoever favorite athlete or elite performer, the Elon Musk of your industry, whatever, and start thinking in terms of what if? What if I create something that is 10 times bigger? What if I start designing my life as an extraordinary entrepreneur that has no choice but to achieve every goal that sets for itself? This is how you win. It's not by hustling and grinding in a normal business that just makes money. It's about winning at the game of life by designing a vision so irresistible they have no other choice but to go towards it in full force, with full conviction that you will get there. And, my business is proof of that, right? See you in the next video.